It's no ordinary scrap journal. I'm Mary Mulari, and I'm here today to show you ideas for creating your own journal just like this. Well, yours will look a lot different, and it's going to be individual. It's a leisurely project, and what we'll start off with is to say there are no rules. You build this journal to suit yourself, and I encourage you to keep your eyes open because we're going to use scraps and pieces of your life that you've saved to put together the interesting pages of this journal. So we'll start with a look at the kit that is provided to go with this project. It looks like this, and we'll look at the individual parts in the kit, starting with the blank journal of 60 pages. And the other papers that come with it are, first of all, a page of clip art. And there are images, and then there are quotes, and you might like to cut some of these out and glue them into your journal. And then we have an instruction book. This is a 12-page booklet with instructions, so you can read this. I encourage you to read it after you watch this video, and you'll get some more ideas there as well. And then you also get either a recycled or a brand new business envelope like this, and I'll talk more about this shortly. There are also some small supplies in the kit, and they include a page of this vintage photo corner, and I'll show you how you use these as well. There's a glue stick, there's a piece of ribbon, a roll of washi tape, a piece of string, 3 stickers with different themes, and 2 paper clips. A small one and a larger one, and then one tiny little piece, which is a metal brad. And we're going to use this when we make our closure. So that's what's in the kit. If you have artist supplies and craft supplies, you may find that you want to use some of them as well. Here are some extra things this time that I think might be helpful if you have them, not required. Here I have markers and a highlighter, and I might like to color in portions of my journal. And also sometimes clear tape is helpful to using to secure something. And then in addition to that, I have a paper punch. That might be helpful to you. And this isn't very fancy, but it's an old catalog or a magazine. And we're going to use this a couple of times to help the process of putting the parts together of this journal. So we'll leave this here, and we're going to look yet at one more selection of scraps, and it might be a Kleenex box. You can see here there's an opening that was at the top of the box, and we can use that as a frame for little artwork or lettering or whatever. And then we have maybe some bags with logos, and of course maybe a box of candy. You'll see this show up a little later. Maybe there is some sheet music. And we have a calendar and a map, and then an old magazine. Maybe you like to go to thrift shops and you find old things like this, and you can use parts of them in your journal. And then at the end here, I have 2 different kinds of business envelopes with windows and patterns, and we're going to use both, and that's how we'll start in this journal today. I have the start of what I call the title page. Many books, when you open them, the first page is referred to as a title page, but as I've told you already, there are no rules, but I decided I'd use this, and the purple striped area is actually the back of an envelope, the inside lining, and I cut it in half and pasted it in, or glued it in, and then I have this title page information, and I'm going to add this piece from the clip art page. Using the glue stick, we do have some recommendations for how we're going to use the glue stick. Very important. Here now I'm using this old catalog, and I'm going to apply the glue stick to the edges. Now, after I do this a few times, it's going to be messy, so I'm going to flip to another page. Now, the other thing about the glue stick, I'm going to glue here in the area where I'll put the design. So I have really a double layer of glue stick. And that's very important when you want this to stay in place. So always when we're gluing, we're going to use that double layer. Another way that you can use the envelope is to use part of the back. I tore it. I didn't even cut it very neatly. I used it as a background, and over the top is a recipe in my mother's handwriting. Very special. And then here is a portion of, this is the window of the envelope, and the lining, which has the pattern. And underneath, I decided to frame a candy bar wrapper, just for fun. And then the third use, I have cut my envelope and a portion of it off, and I've used washi tape on this edge and on the bottom corners. Now, washi tape is another, this is a great product. It's a low tack tape, but it needs help. So anytime I use it, I would apply the glue stick again on the back of the washi tape and on the surface where I apply it. That's going to keep it in place. And in this pocket, I could put maybe something like a postcard that I want to save. And here you see that I was keeping my postcard in place with this paper clip with a little bit of yarn tied to the top. You can refer to the instruction book with some ideas for trimming your paper clips. Then here's a kind of a mess. When I began this project, I was organized, or I thought I wanted to be. So I made these page tabs for divisions in my journal. And many of you will like to be organized, and there are instructions for this. But now I prefer a random approach. I collect, maybe from my refrigerator or a bulletin board, pieces of my life. And I can put these into my journal today. Maybe I'll write a little something about them. And then tomorrow, if I want to add more, I flip over and I add what appeals to me tomorrow. I like that method, but there's not a lot of unity here. There's just a lot of very different things. But it's I think, a really nice way to build a scrap journal. Then turning the page. Here is what is called a belly band. This is a piece of paper, and it's glued on the edges only. This is about 5 inches wide, and it holds in place something like a brochure that I might want to read later. So I don't want to glue the brochure to the journal, but hold it in place like this. And then we come to a piece of just a nice little design, floral design, and I'm going to add this to my journal with the help of the photo corners. So how you would do this is, these are now self-adhesive. This is an old-timey scrapbook accessory, and you used to have to lick these, so now this is a lot better. And I'm going to place each corner this way, and then very carefully I'm going to attach it to the journal, and I kind of press on these to make sure they stay in place. Now the nice thing about the corners is that once they're attached, you can very carefully remove this piece and use it in another way. Maybe it's a photo you want to use in another space. So that's photo corners. So you get 12 of those to use in your journal. Now you can see here that I've torn the edge of this page just what you can. Again, no rules. But it's kind of hinting that there's something on the next page. And this turns out to be a large, wide calendar page. Too wide for the journal, but I have it glued here, and then I open it up to see the full view of this beautiful landscape quilt. And I added, just because I could, this piece of washi tape. So again, when I put this in, I'm going to use the glue on the inside or the wrong side of the tape, and then also on this calendar page as well. Then we flip one more page to find envelopes. I've made this one from a flat map, clearly, and we can use these by gluing them into the journal and then storing things inside. And then here's one that I've made from a calendar page. This time I could glue this back to the page, then I flip it over. I might have something else here on my journal, and maybe there's a love note in there, whatever you'd like to kind of hide from obvious view. So I'd like to show you how you make these envelopes. You're going to find in your instruction booklet this page in the center, which has a pattern and instructions. And you'll be directed to make a tracing of this main pattern, and that's what you will then cut out. And you will bring to something like a calendar page. You can see here how I've outlined it. And then cut that out, and you'll have this. And then you're going to do some folding. And this envelope is almost ready to be put together. What you'll do first is to fold in these sides, and then you fold in the bottom and the top. But to put this, to make it a permanent envelope, you're going to apply the glue stick here and here, here and here, and then seal this. And you can also use this as an envelope to send in the mail. So you might want to write a letter to someone. You could use a white address label here to make your address clear for the postal people. So that's envelopes. Hope you'll give those a try. And then we flip to the very back of our journal, and this time we'll talk about the ribbon that you get. Now this is intended to be a bookmark, or whatever you want it to be actually, that can then mark a page that you want to keep returning to. I have glued this already to the inside of the cover, and the last step, I think, is to add 2 strips, which again I'll put glue on when I'm really doing this. I'm going to put 2 strips of washi tape over the end of it to protect it and keep it from fraying. It's very handy to have a bookmark in place. So then we get to the cover. Now, we haven't talked about that yet, but it's a fun thing to decorate. Here is an idea with a portion of a smaller Kleenex box. This is the window or the opening at the top. The blue and white is the backing of an envelope, and then I used one of my stickers from the kit to trim the opening. Now there's more that could be done, but you know, you do as much as you like, and you also have the back cover to trim as well. Looking at a different journal, I've trimmed this one with some pictures from a catalog that I liked, and then we're going to do a closure. And this is similar to the closure on this journal. I have cut a circle from that candy box, and I marked the center of it, and I need to make a hole in the center. So this might be a time, if your scissors have a nice sharp point, you can work on top of this and kind of dig it in a little bit here, or certainly having the paper punch will help as well if you have one of those on hand. It doesn't take much to be able to punch that little brad into the center. And then I've made a hole on my journal cover also where I want this to be, and I will put this through. And then on the back side, the extensions of the brad get laid flat here. And then I would also put washi tape over the back of this. Again, I'm going to first of all apply the glue stick on the back, as I've told you need to do. So now we're ready to build our closure. And I'm going to reach for my piece of string. And what you'll do first toward one end is to tie 2 knots. And you kind of really tie them nice and tight in there. And then the other end of the string will be free to wrap around the journal and then bring back here to wind around. Now, the reason we build this closure is because after adding all these papers, sometimes you get kind of a thick journal. It doesn't want to lie flat. So this is a way to close it up. And it's kind of a vintage type of closure that's fun to do with parts of a box of candy. So that is the closure. Here are some examples of how you might write in your journal. Here I've written on separate paper and added the two pieces to my journal. Sometimes journals get kind of lumpy and hard to write on directly on the paper when you have a lot of things added. So this might be one way you do it. And then here's another way where I wrote quite a lot here with this bookmark and this one as well. And you can't even read it until you flip it over. But this is something I encourage you to add your writing and add the date. And add other interesting little features. So I hope you've gotten some good ideas from watching today, and that you'll continue on your own scrap journal project. I thank you for watching this presentation.